it also gives you a chance to they'll look like a baller because you're being honest.
Everything is marketing. There's everything from when you walk in, the color of the walls, right? Everything about you and what you do, it's just nuance, right? And so those little things matter.
Show is amazing. Love Jeff, and it would say literally things like, can't give him 5 stars because the chairs were disgusting.
I mean, it's a content game more than ever out there, right? Regardless of what business you're in, it's about content. Well, welcome everybody to another super high energy. And I'm telling you, you got lots of energy packed in these 2 squares right now. Hold on, I'm pretty amped up and love to bring value. Jeff Civillico here is going to be with me on our episode of how outsourcing and AI works for small to medium business. And as everybody knows, this is all about, going beyond top of funnel when it comes to awareness. Everybody knows that the whole world of, virtual assistants and offshore and outsourcing and so forth exists, and the world of AI. But the next question most all of us have, right, and a lot of small to medium business owners and leaders is, how does this actually work? What can they actually do in my business? What things are going to move the needle? How do I begin the journey? What about all these doubt, fears about, competency or time zones or what have you? Well, that's the goal of this podcast, is to dive in and bring live individuals who've actually gone through the journey. And Jeff's got an interesting one that some people have had where they've started in one path and had a challenge and kind of redirected. So excited to have him on and share from his perspective. So thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And Jeff will celebrate all his fantastic accomplishments. And he is a headliner, very well known in the Vegas world and beyond, a keynote, and leads tremendous organizations and their entire big company, gatherings across the world, and just been a phenomenal leader and a philanthropist, and got a chance to connect with him through a couple relationships in the past. So excited to share his journey with you, which is pretty impressive on its own. And then his journey and what he's navigated on the VA front of things. So as always, with our listeners, we like to kick off with, if you hear nothing else that he and I talk about over this little bit, you walk away with a quick win, the tool, resource, something that maybe you haven't ever heard of before. So I like to have myself and my guests kind of share something that they've kind of come across that could be helpful. So I'll let you kick it off. Jeff, you said you got a cool tech tool?
Yeah, actually, I can't take credit for this. I saw it in a video from Dan Martell about, AI tools and things that he uses, and Granola. It's kind of my new favorite note-taking app. I know you can record on Zoom or in the cloud, various, Fathom, all these different note takers. But I like Granola. It records locally. And the nice thing is you can take your own notes in the same interface as the recording is happening. And it combines your notes with the transcript and the ideas into kind of its own unique way of capturing the meeting. So I really like it. Super easy to use and share. And it's my new kind of go-to.
And so it rides in, so it's an integrated note taker into your Zoom meetings or virtual meetings or anything that you have. That
it's local. So I'm running Granola right now, which is nice because I think sometimes if you say, hey, can I record this meeting? And you see the recording tab in there, and it just kind of, people are very aware that they're recording. You should still obviously tell them that you're recording. I still do that. I say, hey, do you mind if I record this? They say, oh yeah, absolutely. But then it's not blinking in their face the whole time that it's recording. It's a little more subtle, which I like.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's so many different these AI tools and resources that are happening out there, but it's trying to find one that you resonate with well, that has the right kind of format and output in that process. So I'll continue on that vein. And I was just telling with Jeff, I got a chance to go to a bunch of conferences recently. Big Keller Williams conference with 14,000 people, about the biggest conference I think I've been to. And then the International Franchise Association conference, had some amazing keynotes. And I'll share more of an in-live physical event perspective on that. And it's a Plaud.ai. A lot of you may have heard of. They got this little pen, which I actually have going right now. It's a physical little item you can clip, but they've also got one that can go in the back of your phone. But I've been using it, off and on, and hadn't had a chance to really use it at a conference, and went to it and just turned it on, and was actually on the front row with Gary Vee speaking. After that, Donald Miller with Story Brand. And a lot of times, as you know, when you are listening to speakers, right, you're capturing the content, and maybe there's a slide and you're trying to take a picture of the slide with your phone and maybe write down a note and so forth. And so with Plaud, you can turn on the pen, right? It's recording and it's syncing with the app on your phone. And as you're watching, so like Donald Miller, I was sitting there watching, and I actually probably bring up the file here. And as it's recording, it's in there real time, kind of capturing everything that he's saying, right? The full transcript, but as he's showing slides, right? He's showing slides that are kind of pulling up in the process. And so I got a chance to actually take pictures of slides, and it slots it perfectly in the exact same time of the transcription that's kind of going through. Wow. And so you can actually have the slides integrated in, and I'll throw up actually here for those that are watching on the video version of this. I'll pull up and people can quickly see a visual from it. Oh, lost my browser there. They're all over the place. There we go. But actually we'll transcribe and show. There we go. Did it add it stage? There we go. Yes, this is kind of cool here. So like it did the full transcription of the entire meeting. Huh. And then as I took pictures of slides. So on my cell phone, I'm actually take pictures of slides, and it was able to integrate the slides in exactly with the transcription. So it has the full transcription. Wow. And then it has the highlights, right? And also the second thing is that there's something he says specifically that I want to tag that really resonated, like it'll capture it. And so those are the highlights that kind of capture in it. And then you can apply multiple templates. That's the other thing I like about Plaud, which I hadn't really dug into before, is you can apply multiple templates to summarize the content. So there's a template that they have called Keynote Summary. And so I did use that one. And so it captured the big theme. It identified quotable quotes from it and so forth. So anyway, highly recommend if you haven't tried out those tools and use them, but it's a great way to synthesize. And I tell you, it's a great value add. It's a great way. I was able to stay connected with a lot of people I met at the conference, Jeff, because hey, if you'd like to get all the notes from the keynote speakers, right, feel free to shoot me an email, right? And it's a great way for a ton of people to email me and stay in touch with folks after the conference, because now I created a Google Doc with a link to all the Plaud notes, which people loved getting. So
Brad, you have me thinking. I do a lot of hosting work, emceeing conferences, as well as keynoting on my own. And I'm often summarizing, and I'll do little recaps after someone speaks. And sometimes I'll say, hey, I'm going to post these on LinkedIn. I'm going to tag the conference, and that's my way of driving them. But doing this in real time, that would be so much easier and more thorough. So that's really smart. I might have to take you up on that there.
We'll keep it a secret. It's really Jeff doing it. It's not Plaud. That's why you're paying him to host this event.
Me doing it that quickly and that efficiently.
No, it's a perfect example. I mean, I literally took that, and and we'll talk about, right? I mean, it's a content game more than ever out there, right? Regardless of what business you're in, it's about content and how can you put out the most valuable educational. And back to Dan Martell, I'm a huge fan. I've actually modeled a lot of things. And to that point, remind me to send you a podcast episode. Sam Gaudet, who does all his content, right, since he was 16 years old, done it for the last 8 years, helps Dan explode. Sam Gaudet was on the Agency podcast, 2 hours long, and he maps out, every granular detail of the Dan Martell content strategy. Every single bit of it. So drop that into NotebookLM is another quick tool, and it'll extract any YouTube interview video, and it'll pull it and turn it into an entire visual framework, which I did with that one. But to the point of content, right? So it's about being able to capture content and then be able to take that and repurpose it. And so I did the same thing, actually. So I come back from these conferences and I use my Plaud notes, dump it into Gemini, and then have it do a recap and make a LinkedIn article, from it as well. So always creative ways of finding content and adding value. But look, you got to earn the right to stay in people's channels, right? It can't be, fluff or promotional. And when you use these things right, it's a way you can really add, value. And if you think about those notes too, right? When you're kind of doing your Get More Gigs course, which we'll talk about as far as Jeff's intro, it's a great way. You could use those as examples of hey, here's summarized examples, right? Yeah. What I've done after my keynotes is kind of a value add. So yeah. We'll get now to the meat of it here. I know we could go on and on about cool tech tools.
Yeah, I just wrote down NotebookLM. I wasn't familiar with that one.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I'll send you a whole cyber. That thing is.
I'm learning here too. This is great.
Real. It's unreal. Let me drop another quick tool in before we close out. But it'll take any website, any podcast, and it'll turn it into 9 different options of content. It'll do everything from a data table to a visual to a 30-second whiteboard animated video. Or create a whole slide deck. So got a lot of tools up front. So if nothing else, you guys are walking away with some good stuff.
Yeah, that's my time. Say, right? that's all the time we have today.
But excited to jump in with Jeff and to kind of share his journey. Just a tremendously humble individual, but just a profoundly well-known speaker and MC, keynote, philanthropist in multiple directions. And we got a chance to get connected through a mutual friend, Jamie Minton, who actually a company called Leader Pass, which will come back as a full circle conversation between us. And got a chance to support him. I mean, can you imagine being a keynote speaker? And I got a chance to do a lot of speaking, not nearly anything like Jeff, but there's a lot of moving parts in that whole world, right? You are a personal brand, and how do you keep everything updated? Everything from your website to your content, to getting gigs, to coordinating, to following up and getting all the headshots and the material and all the parts and pieces of that whole equation. And then on top of that, having an incredible online course that he has supporting other speakers, a lot of moving parts. So he's perfectly made for the need of a VA. But any other quick highlights or kind of share kind of from your background, Jeff, to everybody, quick introduction, and we'll jump into the meat of it.
No, I mean, honestly, when you say that, to me, what comes to mind is that's a lot of the challenges that people have. I think this perception of, I don't think a virtual assistant is going to be able to like understand me. I'm not just selling widgets. Like, I am the widget. And so there's more context needed than selling XYZ services. I mean, I'm talking to speakers every day. They're my best friends in the world. And you hear that pushback all the time. And I do get it, but it's unfounded, right? People, oh, nobody can do this like I can, right? That's kind of what people say. Oh, nobody can, or nobody is going to get to know me and my brand as well. And I really think it's about, one, understanding the skill set and the passions of your VA and seeing where they kind of overlap, right? That kind of sweet spot, and identifying what are like the first base level tasks that don't require that much knowledge, understanding of you specifically as a personal brand, but that are more operational business that you can delegate to free up you to be in your superpower as the personal brand. That's kind of, at least for me, how it started. And there are countless tasks and projects and opportunities for that if and when you really start moving from theoretical, like, I don't know what I would have this person do, to every single time you do something that you either don't want to or you're not good at, write it down. You will see how many opportunities there are. And then slowly move into that space where he or she is doing a little bit more of the personal branding work that needs more context. Over time, they get to know you, they get to know the problems that you're solving, they get to know your audiences, they get to know kind of your style and how you like things. That's at least what I've seen to be successful in the year plus now that I've been working with Maria.
Well, I appreciate you sharing it. And it's, being an entrepreneur my entire life. And, there's a reason why only, 4% of people ever get over, 4% of businesses ever get over the $1 million mark a lot of times, right? Because of not willing to, they own a job versus a business or, a career path, down this journey. And I get it, right? I mean, I certainly, from a personal branding, and I've got a whole personal brand and speaking and thing that I do as well, along with building Outsource Access. And for those that haven't heard or been a part of the series, Brad Stevens here, shared the background, but founder and CEO of Outsource Access, we'll talk about here, 25-year entrepreneur. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia here, and built a bunch of different companies and started learning about the whole offshore outsourcing world, growing my last business. We manufacture and distributed teeth whitening products of all things. But it had such a massive impact on my life that I decided I wanted to bring that to small to medium business in a sustainable, effective way. And so we launched Outsource Access and grew to about 500 people in 4.5 years in 80 different industries. And just love educating, about this journey, not only for the impact that it has for our clients, but then our staff, and just seeing the journey it's taken them down. And we have our own magazine in the Philippines and celebrate our staff and their journey. So it's kind of a win-win. And frankly, this is where everything is going, right? I mean, every small to medium business, you keep fast forwarding years ahead, it's going to be a blend of local employees, some kind of AI tech tools and resources, and some kind of, global, resource or staff of some kind, and kind of that part of that process. So Jeff, right now, kind of bring everybody in terms of the key circles of activity for you right now, kind of what consumes your world, from an NC, from a keynote, from philanthropic side, to give everybody a quick snapshot of inside of your world.
So I'm an entertainer first and foremost. I've had my own show in Las Vegas for the last 10 years. And I've kind of shifted organically from purely entertaining to hosting and peppering in the entertainment throughout, let's say, an awards banquet or a multi-day conference. So on one side, I'm interviewing executives or hosting panels. And then I'm also providing entertainment engagement pieces first thing in the morning, coming back from lunch, performing at their banquets, etc. And then most recently,
been thumbnails on here, right? Did you just redo all the
Yeah. Maria did all those thumbnails.
Oh,
Yeah.
Maria did. Oh, right on. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for noticing. Yeah.
I
That
thought
was
there was some difference on your site when I was here last time. So
you know
Maria,
what?
Ms. VA actually helped do these. That's cool.
That was one of the projects that that she took on, was curating my YouTube channel. I had all these different playlists, but it all just looked like kind of a mess, to be honest. So, yeah, she picked a different color that was part of my brand colors, my palette there. If you see the Jeff Civillico in there, and a different one for hosting, for entertainment, for keynotes, for workshops, and created design thumbnails and did all the text and titles and metadata and keywords and all that. And I have 500 plus videos on my YouTube channel. So that was something that she was working on kind of in the background whenever I get really busy. So there's things that I need her to be like right there with me. We're on Zoom, we're doing together, but then I'll go on a speaking tour or an event tour for 5, 6 in a row, and I'm gone for 2, 3 weeks. And she has all these projects that she can keep moving things forward. And back to the original point, right? What I said, like, I know I see it, like I should do that, but I'm like, it's like not that important relatively. I shouldn't say it's not important. It's not urgent. It is important, right? But now having Maria, what I can do is I can say I can handle a lot of the urgent things, but she's kind of in the background working on the more important things that over time impact your digital presence, your footprint. And I know you're huge on LinkedIn, Brad. I just talked to somebody who's hiring me in May, and I said, "Hey, how'd you hear about me?" By the way, I said, "Oh, we saw one of your LinkedIn posts, and we rented your special. I have a special on Amazon and Apple TV. My family loved it, and then we saw your research study. I was like, oh, this is perfect." And so there's a great example of, like, I might not be able to trace it to one specific thing that I or Maria did necessarily, but the combination of all of these things of, really like crossing the T's, dotting the I's, writing a blog post and optimizing the images, right? Optimize with the alt text and the titles and optimizing the headers and the tags and all that. Who can really say if that, counts or matters for one specific example? But over time, like, oh man, when you Google professional MC, like, I'm one of the first sites that comes up organically, right? That doesn't happen without a lot of consistent, doing the work and being really detail oriented and having that kind of bigger picture context view. You see those right there? Those to look at the LinkedIn. Yeah, I got all those nice featured, banners right there designed. Like, again, that's another great example. Just looks a little more elevated, which is something that Maria's helped me with quite a bit.
And there's continuity there too, right? In terms of like seeing the palette and the color and the feel of all of it. And to your point, right? I mean, back to what we were talking about at the beginning, right? It's a content game and it's about consistency. When I speak on this, I have these 2 wheels. I talk about the nurture wheel and the life and business event wheel. And if you can earn the right to be on the nurture wheel with people, right? Whether it's, newsletter, whether it's being in their Facebook feed, their Instagram feed, their LinkedIn feed in a way that doesn't annoy them, but adds value, entertains them, brings a smile, adds value, educates. Then there will be a life and business event like that gentleman you just talked about, right?
100%.
Because you had earned the right to be in his channel, that, whenever the opportunity came up that he was in charge of choosing, right, a keynote or the entertainer, or the MC, right, you're the top of mind. You own that space, as Donald Miller talks about. You want to own the problem in your space where that guide is going. And by doing so, and, frankly, it's interesting. You talk about, right, like this 2-question exercise we do with people, and they're like, well, where can I begin?
Yep.
And what I was saying earlier is I respect it, right? At the end of the day, as a speaker, you care a lot about your personal brand and how you're communicating, and to be able to hand that off to someone that you can have confidence, especially in another country where people don't realize the Philippines Americanized, completely English speaking. I mean, if you were to talk to Maria, you'd see amazing English, just like with a lot of our staff.
Yeah.
But it's something you're very protective of. And it's not until you build the confidence and see it. And that's why, I do podcasts just like this for people to kind of go behind the scenes. And these 2 questions that we always have people ask is just, what are you doing that is not in your genius zone and that's not the best use of your time? And then how many hours are you spending on it? And people are shocked when they take time to go through this little exercise. And we'll put this in the show notes for everybody, of how much time they spend on certain things. You're like, geez, I spend 14 hours a month, right, chasing down, right, receivables, or trying to coordinate A, B, C, and D. And the second question, which is, what are the things you want to be doing that you're not, due to time, money, and knowledge constraints, right? Just like for you, I'm sure you wanted to optimize thumbnails and you kind of knew like, yeah, this needs to be tightened up, but it's just not something you got to because you didn't have capacity.
100%. I love what you say there about earning the right to be in their feeds. Here's a fun one, Brad. Go back to my LinkedIn if you don't mind for a second here, and scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see a few hundred all the way to the bottom, a few hundred testimonials.
Oh yeah, your
Now,
recommendation.
I'm not saying this just to
298. Good.
Yeah, but there's a point here. So now open up another tab if you don't mind, or go to my website, or you're already on my website, right? So, okay, now go to, book Jeff and the testimonials right there. Yeah, perfect. Okay, see this? So Maria repurposes the testimonials I get on LinkedIn into this testimonial filter. But I'll tell you, this has gotten me hired more times than I can count because every single one of those is a blog post. Now, again, does this take a long time? No, but it takes a few minutes for sure to get it, copy and paste it, put it, in italics, format it, pull the logo, add it, update it, and then sort it. Because if you look at the top, the drop-down menus there, you can sort by industry, by service type, etc. So Debbie, my vice president of sales, when she receives an inquiry, hey, is Jeff available to host a tech conference in Orlando in November or whatever, or blah, blah, blah. Now, she won't just say, yeah, he is, would you like a hold? She'll do exactly what you're doing, and she'll go and find that. She'll do the sorts, and they'll say, oh, here's a link to 24 raving testimonials from past tech clients that Jeff has hosted. It's very specific. That only happens if Maria is taking those, putting them in, and then categorizing them correctly. And again, like that's just something that happens now automatically, right? I look and I'm like, oh, cool, like got a few more up there. And then, we could go on and on about like, how do you get the testimonials, right? It's like, well, obviously you do a good job, you build a good relationship and connect on site, but then there's also a gift that Maria is involved with handling that. We do a gourmet popcorn kind of box with a $5 Amazon gift card to rent or buy my special on Amazon. So that serves a couple purposes because, hopefully they see it with their family. And then obviously they're thinking of me, oh, I didn't realize you could do this. But I bring that up because Maria is the one who's buying all of those $5 gift cards, getting all those links from Amazon, putting that in, doing the gift, the note, we have a big spreadsheet and all that. So again, over time, say, oh my gosh, he's got hundreds of these testimonials. It's like when I hired Maria, I didn't have this on my radar, but like, this is something very smart and very good that she handles that over time is building a lot of credibility and a lot of digital presence.
Absolutely. Now, these are great. And this is exactly why I love sharing this podcast because it's, people, what can I have them do? Right. And so that's why it falls into those two buckets. There's like the first question they know, right? What are things you want off of your plate? The things that as you're doing it, you're like, this is not a good use of my time, but I have to do it, but I wish I wasn't doing it. Right. And it's not that it's, not a low level task in some cases, right? I mean, it's important stuff, but it's just a matter of what is your genius zone. And ultimately from a, satisfaction standpoint for every individual and their employees, it's like people just want to wake up every day and their feet hitting the ground doing that thing that they love, right? And for you, I'm sure waking up and going and chasing down testimonials is not that thing. But it was important to have on your website, so you probably find some time to reach out and so forth. But now you've got a systematic process that after you do an event, and there's reach out that goes to it, see if you can get a testimonial, and then going and getting that. Because within LinkedIn, you've actually got to get them to do it through LinkedIn. I actually have my VA do this as well. You have to go in, and actually I have them pre-write it to make it easier. Because if you make someone write something off the top of their head, it takes longer to get a testimonial. But if I
do that. Depending on the relationship, or if I don't hear back, I'll follow up with that. Hey, I know how busy you are. Here's a real life example, Brad. I'm writing a book, and with my crazy ADHD, I know that if I turn my phone on and the day begins, it's like near impossible for me to get back to writing. And so one of the things that I do is I try not to do anything before 10 a.m. that's not book focused. I wake up, I go work out, and then I come back and I get like a few hours in on the book. And Maria is helping me have the peace of mind to be able to do that, because when I do turn my phone on, and sometimes I'm taking a break, so I'll like pop on a check. And it's like somebody reached out for a pre-call and she said, hey, yeah, week of April 6th looks great. Here's a link to Jeff's calendar program. Feel free to book your own time or just, work with me. I'm happy to schedule for you. I'm like, great. She's bounced the ball back to the other people. So now my brand looks like, oh, he's on it, right? I wasn't responding. Somebody else from my team was, but that matters to them because they want to know now. And it's like, oh, wow, Jeff, his team, Debbie, Maria, they're on it. And so that gives me peace of mind, even just knowing, like, even if sometimes she'll say, hey, because she knows my schedule, knows I'm on a plane or whatever. And she knows, if we're messaging and I don't write her in like a few hours, it's like the Wi-Fi is down, right? Like she'll know that by now, but she'll message and she'll say like, hey, thank you so much. Either she'll route it to Debbie, who's my salesperson, if it's like an inquiry, because sometimes it'll come in through a different way or come directly to me. She has access to my email. So she'll say like, hey, thanks. So I know Jeff's on a flight, but like, this is Maria, I'm jumping in. Let me loop in Debbie from our team. Or she'll say, I know Jeff's on site right now and I always tell her to make it specific. So it's not a blow off. It's like, Jeff's hosting the EY Future Leaders Summit in Orlando, today and tomorrow. He'll get back to you over the weekend, if not sooner. Then all people want to know is they just want to feel seen. They want to feel heard, right? That sounds like cheesy to say, but it's true. They don't really care if I get back to them. But if someone says, hey, awesome, this is important to us. Thank you so much. Like give us 24 hours. They're like, okay, cool. They kind of move on.
It's so funny. We have, and it's nuance. A lot of this is nuance. And a lot of times the opportunity and the conversion and connection is in the nuance, right? I do the exact same thing, right? If I can't make something, I don't want to just tell someone, oh, Brad's busy right now. Or, hey, he had a conflict come up and you can't make it, right? Some people think that's oversharing. You don't need to tell. Like I'm the opposite, right? I like explicitly to state what's going on and what's happening.
It also gives you a chance to they'll look like a baller. Because you're being honest. Like if I'm doing something, I literally was hosting a Brown & Brown insurance event, their annual sales conclave, massive event. It was at the Grand Ole Opry. They bought out the Grand Ole Opry. There's like thousands of people there. I was the MC, right? Somebody comes in, an email comes in and says, hey, we're looking at Jeff. Like, I don't know. Hey, sorry, I can't talk right now. It's like, hey, sorry, he's not available. He's hosting Brown & Brown Insurance's annual sales enclave at the Grand Ole Opry for the next 2 days. Oh, wow. Now they're thinking, I don't know if we have the budget for him. Like that's a missed opportunity if you either don't respond or you respond with like, yeah, he's not available, but he'll be around next week. It's like, why? Because I'm at the beach, like drinking pina coladas? Like, no, I'm killing it. Like that's what you want. That's what you want to, when you actually do have everybody, kind of, I would say like exaggerates at times, right? Or we're prone to like, kind of be a little self-promoing when it's actually true. And you got to say it. You got to share it. It's like, these are the facts.
No, I do the exact same. My vacation or my autoresponder, we're very explicit when I'm out, right? It's like, hey, he's, with his business forum group in Tulum, right? Doing XYZ, or he's at the International Franchise Association
Exactly.
Conference. Everything is marketing. There's a book back when I had my last company, we were in the dental space, and there's a guy actually that wrote a book called Everything is Marketing, actually just for the dental industry. And he was talking about everything from when you walk in, the color of the walls, right? Everything about you and what you do. And it's just nuance, right? And so
Brad,
those little things matter.
When I learned this was producing my own show in Las Vegas, I would get, let's say, 4-star out of 5. And be like, show is amazing, love Jeff, da-da. And it would say literally things like, can't give him 5 stars because the chairs were disgusting. Right? I'm like, okay, like that's Caesar's, that's not me, right? I have nothing to do, but my show was dinged a star, right? Or like parking garage sucks, 3 stars. Jeff was amazing, right? But like my show was 3 stars, right? So to your point, everything is marketing. The whole perception of like, how do I buy a ticket? What's that process like? Is it annoying? Are there extra fees? All that is like reflective of my show. The traffic, the parking, getting from the parking spot to the venue itself, the upholstery, the cleanliness, the usher, was the usher nice? Like all of that. And that as a business person now, obviously I don't have the show anymore. I moved on from that, but I think about what is the process like when someone reaches out via Instagram DM versus web form versus webinar versus saw me, this or that. How does it get to, to Debbie and or me, right? Like how accessible am I? And how does the client want that and value that? And how do we kind of guide them through what we call our booking process? So it's transparent, it's clear, and they feel like they're being taken care of and guided on a journey. Like that's just huge.
Now it's, and at the end of the day, it's reflective of, how you're going to be, particularly when it comes to the nature of this business, right? When you're emceeing and so forth, right? The last thing that somebody wants is a high maintenance individual that they have to kind of, navigate. And if you're going to be the one, especially that they're, trusting to be the MC to guide their audience and their attendees over the next 3 to 4 days, I mean, you're setting that stage right from the beginning on how you respond, how you interact, because it's reflective of what they're going to experience with you.
Yeah.
And they may have 5 or 6 other people that they're talking to. And if you can stand out with responsiveness in a different 100%. Kind of way, it gives you that standout opportunity.
My dad always says, you got to get the easy ones right, Jeff. When I was a kid, because I would like mess up on the math tests, like the easy ones, right? Because it's like, I know I'm going to get some of the harder ones wrong. And to me, that's what this is. It's like, do the easy things right. Like, care, show that you're responsive, that you're on time or early. I mean, I can't tell you how many times as an MC, it's like, the MC and the keynote speaker for that morning, call time is 7 a.m. backstage or whatever. I'm there at 6:50. On my laptop, I'm ready. And it's like 7:10, 7:20, 7. Has anybody seen so and so? Did they make it in last night? Like call the and it doesn't matter how great that speaker was. That impression is like they're not on the ball. They're stressing the meeting planner and the production team out. It's like, get the easy stuff right. Be responsive, show up on time, care, show that you care, that you have a system in place, that you've done this before. Like that, creating that trust, that social proof is so important.
Now you're lowering. It reminds me from that. I'm from the beginning sharing, seeing Donald Miller, and I can't recommend enough everybody here to read his book and his concept on story brand. And ultimately, like, treating your approach and your messaging and how you approach customers, as if you're the guide. Ultimately, the customer is the hero of the journey. Yeah. Pulling back up my Plaud notes here, right? The lower the cognitive load, the more people place orders. And the more that you create more cognitive dissonance for someone to say yes to what you offer and what you do, right? You're missing, the opportunity. So these are all the little things, right, that can kind of make a difference in the process. And that's a great segue actually into sharing about your course, right? And this is another cool thing about this, right? I mean, at the end of the day, speaking, great income opportunity and lots of travel and everything. But at the end of the day, it's, time and dollars and kind of what you're navigating. So, everyone, speakers certainly and others that have got amazing other ways they can monetize their knowledge and their ability. And then for you, to get more gigs, course and content. And so it's cool to see with Maria and a VA in your life, right? You're able to now further lean into this initiative, right?
I was just about to say, this is a great example of, I didn't hire Maria to do this, but now that I have Maria on the team, this has become a much bigger piece of my business revenue, et cetera, because I can kind of say like, Maria's got that, right? So all the obviously like the tile designs and the workbooks and all that, like she did, of course, but we have these regular cohort meetings. Those happen on Zoom.
Let everybody tell real quick context. I haven't heard yet, because this is a great course. If you're a speaker and looking to kind of take yours to the next level, and a lot of the things that Jeff's talking about, he's been sharing with other speakers, the nuanced things that can make such a difference to help you get more gigs, right? It's not really designed for people from just scratch that have never spoken before, but people that got momentum. And how do you incrementally win more opportunities, right, relative to others, and get yourself great name, great reputation by some of these nuances. So give folks a little bit of context of what this course is and how you structure it.
I get excited. I just jump in.
I just want people to kind of understand the context.
You're absolutely right. It's called Get More Gigs for a reason. It's not called Get Gigs. There are plenty of courses and teachers and guides out there who are kind of play that card of like, you have something in your heart, you have a story to tell, like you can make $1 million, be a speaker. And like, I'm not a fan of that, to be honest, because it is a business and you need more than a story in your heart and like something to say. you need really good business sense, and you need to be
Yeah.
able to differentiate yourself among the competition to maximize your value. And so nothing against, people who are good-hearted, who have good intentions of genuinely helping someone create a speaker business from scratch. That's not my world. That's not what excites me. What excites me is taking someone who's already a successful working professional speaker, presenter, entertainer, anybody who makes a living being on stage, and teaching them how to stand out from the crowd, because it's such a crowded space. As you know, everybody's a speaker. It's like the new realtor. It's like, I'm a speaker. Like that joke in Vegas is like every dealer, every blackjack dealer is like also a realtor. It's like you sit at a blackjack table long enough, they're like, oh, you're local, Summerlin. Oh yeah, here. Like, and then out comes the business card being a realtor. Like I know so many people who are, they have their main thing, but like they're also a professional speaker, right? So there's, countless thousands and thousands and thousands of speakers out there. And, I feel like you're doing your clients and potential clients a service to be able to differentiate yourself and to be able to stand out, to show what is your unique value. What is it that you offer on stage and off? So I came up with this basic framework of differentiating yourself before, during, and after events. Because what I have realized is that unfortunately, lots of presenters think of their bookings in a very transactional manner. Mm-hmm. You are a relationships guy. It is very obvious in everything you do, Brad, in terms of how you value relationships and take time to build from EO to, even just when I was at Leader Pass Studios, you came by and wanted to meet me in person. So you made the time to come over and we met and everything else. Like, it's very important to you. That's not how a lot of people operate, to their detriment. They think, oh, I just booked an event in, March next year. I'm not going to think about that till like February 2027, right? That's a bad way to do business. And you're missing so much potential opportunity. When you start building that relationship and you really think of an event as a living, breathing entity with a full life cycle, not just as that's great to be here in, the World Marriott Center, for what do these people do? Like, what is this group? You might find that event, one booking, but that's not going to spin off into multiple bookings, right? That's not going to win over all the production folks and the bureau folks and the client folks who are then going to move jobs. They're going to transfer and they're going to bring you with them. They're going to talk about it. They all have, just like you with EO, right? They all have their conferences and their events where, hey, who have you seen lately? Oh, I got to tell you, this person was great. Oh, and she was such a delight to work with. She stayed after, she talked to people. Oh, wow. That's how this business works. It's word of mouth. It's creating exceptional value, going above and beyond for your clients and really surprising and delighting folks. So that's what the course is all about. It's like, my 20 plus years in the industry doing this, all these different like little tips and I don't want to call them tricks because, they're not really tricks, but they come off like tricks because people are like, oh, that's really good. But when you actually think about it, it's very, logical and intuitive of like, oh yeah, let me do a little golden rule action. Like, let me think about if I were in her shoes, I probably would want to know that my keynote speaker made it to the hotel the night before. Maybe I should text them when I'm taking off and say, hey, flight's on time, about to take off. I know you got a lot going on. No need to respond. I'll message you again when I'm at the hotel, all safe and ready to go, right? That's, oh my gosh, wow, great. Like, that's not something you have to do, but doing that is going to really make you, it's going to give you a good impression. It's going to make a good impression with the client, and they might not even know why, but they're like, I really like him. I really like her. I really enjoyed that experience of working together, because it is a working relationship. It's not just show up, 45 minutes or an hour and you leave, right? There's prep, there's getting to know, there's customization, there's, your team working with their team. And then obviously also times there's aftercare and follow-up, and how do we keep the message relevant and moving forward with everyone as well, not just like a one and done, a transaction. And I think that's how, unfortunately, a lot of presenters think. They think of it as a very much like a, freelance. I booked a gig. Let me focus on getting more gigs, like, as opposed to really maximizing the ones that you do and knocking them out of the park on so many levels that it spins off into, countless opportunities that you weren't even aware of when you booked it.
at the end of the day, it's human beings, right? Engaging other human beings. I mean, it's a person that hired you to come speak, right? It's not a robot, and they have feelings, and you can influence and impact how they feel, right? Back to the old Maya Angelou quote, right? People
Yep.
will never forget how you made them feel, and it's amazing. Like it's low cost and low effort in a lot of ways to make people feel differently. And when you're engaging in that relationship, how can you make that person feel? And if you think about it through that lens, and I get a chance to have an interview with the guy that Voss that wrote the book Never Split the Difference, Negotiator.
Oh yeah.
He talks about Chris Voss.
Yeah.
Always try to put yourself and truly see things from their worldview, right? When you're in any kind of conflict or negotiation or what have you, in a situation like this, right? I mean, and that's what you've done. I feel like you very intentionally put yourself in like the worldview of these coordinators for these events who are making these selections and what their life is like and what they're navigating and all the little things you can do to make their life easier. You are just setting yourself up for success. I mean, first of all, it's just the way you should do things, period, regardless if it translates into more referrals and so forth. It's just the right way to deliver for someone that's paying you handsomely for doing something like this. But by doing so, right, it translates. And it is amazing how much people, especially in this business that are speakers, should know more than ever how relationships are critical. And those are one node on a network. I mean, you don't think that those people are a part of other organizations and groups that talk and share?
Of course.
I mean, that's how I got to do from 0 to 90 EO chapters in a couple of months in terms of referrals because of, I made it easy for these, chapter administrators, these nonprofit organizations, hey, let me help promote this. Here's 14 pieces of pre-made content. All you gotta do is copy and paste on your chapter website and your social media channels. Brilliant. You can make it easy to do. So I love what you've done with the nuances of this process.
I love what you say, by the way. People are people, business is business. That's one of the things that I say all the time is that, yes, although the specifics can be different, of course, or the problem may be exacerbated in this industry or not, at the end of the day, a lot of the same issues that they're dealing with are about, people and politics and credit and, just the basic humanity of working with other humans. So, maybe that event planner that you're talking to, maybe their kid had like something bad happen at school that morning and they're like not exactly focused on that. Maybe, they're sick or maybe, somebody passed away recently. Like you have no idea what's going on in their lives. And so just that ability to have some imagination and some empathy, to your point, yes, it's going to result in more bookings, more business, whatever. But aside from that, like it's the right thing to do, just be a good person. It really is a privilege to be able to drop into an event, get paid very well, share your expertise, your gifts, your talents with the world. Like that's a pretty awesome thing to be able to do on a regular basis and call that your career. So I'm grateful for that, right? I want to make it as easy as possible to work with me, and I want everybody to have a good experience.
And you got to truly get in that mindset, right? I mean, before, you can't mechanically go through these things robotically. Like people can tell authenticity or not, right? And so, being in this space that does have a lot of ego in it, right? And a lot of these people are used to that particular experience. I mean, it's even more of an opportunity to stand out, when you go to that space. And you think of these 22,000 people, right? I think right behind you here, I'm 22. 23, just got to it. But these people that he's connected with, how many of those people, and that's the other thing, is connecting with these people and staying in touch with, because you never know where they may be that opportunity, but how many of them are not connected? And so whenever he's posting content that are commenting on and liking on, and the algorithm is there now populating his content in front of other people who have the same title of event coordinator, right, that they're seeing. So it's all, like you were saying earlier, it's hard to necessarily nail which one thing, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like attribution. Like people have to see things 14, 15 times before ultimately it hits. And if they keep seeing Jeff come up over and over again and his smiling face and other people smiling around him, right, it's going to be that opportunity. I had a guy, and it's the people that don't comment or engage a lot of times that are the ones that are the decision makers. I had a guy I hadn't talked to in 10 years that ended up being a huge client of ours. And he repeated my whole life back to me because he had been watching everything, but never commented or engaged on a single, thing. Huh. So all those different different dimensions that you never know, will kind of, translate. And
it's direct parallel, by the way, with being on stage. When you're speaking, you never know who's in the audience. Right. You hear that. It's true. It's like, oh, there was, Oprah's booker was in the audience because, her husband was attending this conference and, blah, blah. Like, you never know. It's the same thing online, right? You never know who's going to see your piece of content and when it's going to resonate, because the same exact piece of content might resonate with someone, today, and it didn't resonate with them 6 months ago because of what's going on in their lives.
Yeah. I mean, nothing's static. That's the thing I always tell salespeople all the time. Like, just because you called 3 times in the last 2 months doesn't mean that it's not going to work in the 5th month, right? Because that's some kind of life or business event that's kind of being navigated. So I guess enough about what the course and content. I know you kind of do it in 10-week kind of cohorts, and it's a combination of the online course content and then kind of the live meetings that you do. And you're building a community of other speakers too, that you can refer and create other relationships. And
people always ask me how I get my bookings, and at the end of the day, it's peer-to-peer referrals, right? I just recommended someone for a Farm Bureau life insurance company. I recommended a speaker, and this guy's come back to me for the past 4 years now, because whoever I recommend knocks it out of the park, and he keeps coming back, and it's really awesome to be able to recommend my friends for high-paying, great keynote jobs. And that's how I get a lot of my bookings too. So even if it's like through a bureau or a production company or event planner or something, maybe it's originally because a friend recommended you to that source. So what I try to do with Get More Gigs is give people their own community, because it can be a little intimidating. There are great organizations, but they're pretty large, and might feel like you don't really know where to go or who to meet. So this kind of gives people a cohort of people who kind of have each other's backs, right? They're going to comment on each other's LinkedIn posts, and they can send them their promo video. They don't feel weird asking them for advice. Like, we're all there to help each other. And then access to the Get More Gigs community at large, which is over 100 plus people now, for them to meet and connect with in their cities, at their events. We have countless stories of people, booking each other, or even just, hey, I'm doing a keynote in Chicago. The person lives there. They come out. They get some social media for them. They go to lunch. It made the trip nicer, because being on the road can be lonely. Now they have like a friend, someone who's helping them. And it gives that person a chance to step up and kind of show them around, and sometimes meet their clients, and that's an easy then segue to the next year. So anyway, can't say enough about the community aspect of this. That really is what it's all about, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, more than ever, people are seeking community and connection and supporting each other in their journey. We're all fighting the big AI in different capacities. But people are seeking that, and creating that connection, and get a chance to, Jeff will bring on some different people to speak on things. And obviously we share about the whole world of VAs and helping speakers. We got a chance to put together, and if you do end up doing the course and content, we actually kind of took a lot of the nuance and things that Jeff kind of talks about of, executing all these little things that you can do. And, depending on different speakers, we've got different levels of teams and resources, but end up creating an entire guide of how you can actually create an exact, job description for a virtual assistant to actually execute the exact Get More Gigs set of frameworks and processes that Jeff has. So I'll share all of it, but kind of this outlines like every single thing, right? He talks about be easy to work with in each of those components. And so should you want the help to kind of help execute on all that, we've ended up creating kind of a full playbook for a VA to execute on those elements, because it's a key part of the equation, and kind of helping to be 1 + 1 = 4 in the process.
Yep.
So it's awesome to be able to see that in action and see the path that all these different speakers have taken, and it leads to other elements of, right? When you're a speaker, the content, it translates opportunities from economics and monetization, other kind of ways, whether it's getting a podcast launched, whether it's being able to write a book, whether it's being able to do an online course like Jeff's done, is it now gives you the ability to monetize, your competency and your skill set, which others, we say everybody's a speaker, right? It's still the second thing behind death that people are afraid of.
Yeah.
The ability you have, and more than ever now, your unique capability and who you attract, right? And Jeff and I may be saying the exact same thing, right, as thought leaders, but for some reason, there'll be people that gravitate towards him versus gravitate towards me. And you can just find your slice of the attention world online that can follow your path, speaking, content, podcasts, and so forth.
Yep.
Well, it's been awesome to kind of dive in and revisit with your journey and kind of continue to see. And ever since we tried to last, just see with Maria, going on over a year now, just kind of seeing how she's continued to evolve and add value. And I appreciate the thing I last touched on is this idea of it builds momentum, right? You start off in the journey of potential failure, and Jeff actually had another VA, and all of a sudden some things happen unexpectedly, and so kind of going down a path where you can get sustainability and reliability. But you start building confidence. I mean, because Jeff and I can tell you how great all this stuff can be, but it's a matter of you beginning. And as soon as you get confidence, then you see that kind of snowball and you start getting more confidence. Well, let me strip this off and let her try that and try that. And before you know it, right now they're carrying the load and you're able to do a whole nother set of things, right, that you weren't, anticipating.
Yep. Yeah. Also too, Brad, I got to say this, like there's been times where having someone who is different from me in a lot of ways, right? Gender, age, geography, etc., skill set. Like, I'll be like, oh, I never thought about it. Like, that's so much better, like and for her, it's like, oh yeah, like super obvious, and a lot of times, at least for me, I feel like I'm somewhat techie. But again, Maria's in her 20s and like, just she thinks about things differently about using AI first, right? Or whereas I think like, okay, could I use AI for that? Like she's kind of naturally would see how AI could do it first, whether it's something as basic as like, I got a new phone and I have to organize all the apps on my phone, and then it's like, I wouldn't think to do that with AI. I would like drag each one into like the thing and, very slowly. Whereas she'll like, oh, hey, I Google, I saw this on Reddit, and like, if you connect the phone and do this, it'll give you the categories and so she'll like export, do things like that where I don't even think of it. So that's something else that I wasn't really expecting, to be honest. I should have. I should not have thought like, oh, I'm the one in charge. I'll be like telling her what to do. I tell her what to do quite a bit for, delegating this, but there's a lot of times where she will come back to me and say like, hey, I think this is a better way, or she'll, make me think of something and I didn't think of at all. And that's really awesome, right? To have someone like that you can bring a different point of view to you. That's like adding real value.
Yeah, I mean, getting a different perspective, and it's another interesting byproduct when people go down this path. And particularly in the Philippines, that if they haven't had any kind of what their international exposure is, right? I mean, they're getting exposed to a whole other culture, a set of people, and as you are talking about, there's also some things they navigate in terms of their kind of day to day, and so it creates a level of humility and appreciation as well. But yeah, being able to get a different set of eyes that aren't in the weeds of things on a day to day basis makes a big difference in terms of how you look at things, look at it through a bit of a different lens. So.
Big time.
Well, man, I'm excited to see the continued journey. Things kind of move ahead, and so what's the book that you've got coming out? I know you kind of alluded to that. You're in the middle.
Oh yeah. I can't share the title just yet, but it's based on a research study that I did that was based on the success of my TEDx talk. So it's kind of all interwoven about influence is the topic.
Oh, right on. What's the rough timeline for it to be hitting the market?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Next year, it's due July 1st. So assuming I get the manuscript in July 1st, it'll be about 10 to 12 months from that. So next summer, realistically, if I hit that timeline. So
that's a tough for a fellow ADHD brain to sit down and content. So there's lots of it in there, right? But kind of being able to get it out and get it structured.
I know. Yeah.
It can be a bit of a journey, but that's awesome to see. And influence is, as old Maxwell talks about, right? Everything rises and falls on influence when it comes to leadership. So, well, awesome, man. Well, thanks so much. I know you've got a trillion things kind of going on in your world. I appreciate you taking the time to kind of share your journey and experience with Maria, and continue to see it flourish and to grow, and excited to see the course and everything else kind of continue to expand for you. So, everybody's best places. I mean, you're all over the place. I think we shared a lot of it in the show here. But website, go to LinkedIn.
Social. Absolutely. Brad, thank you so much for everything. It's been awesome. I love not only having my own VA through you, but I love being able to offer Outsource access to my Get More Gigs community, because they have questions and you have answers. Seriously.
We're trying, it's never know how everything will kind of translate, but just try to navigate. Cause I mean, at the end of the day, being a lifetime entrepreneur and so forth, just kind of knowing and what everybody's navigating, there's just more levers and more things to kind of navigate as we're kind of moving day to day. And so everybody needs a bit of help and a different path in the process. So if anybody wants to go through that 2-question exercise that I shared with everybody, we'll put it in the show notes. But if you're listening to it, just pop out your phone and you send an email to tools with an S, tools@outsourceaccess.com. And we'll send you this 2-question exercise process here to kind of go through and start unpacking things you want off your plate, things you want to be doing. And in it, we have over 700 tasks we've done, about 5 million hours of work over the last 6.5 years. And so we put in here 700 tasks that you can kind of scroll through across all functions in business: marketing, operations, sales, HR. And people start scrolling through this and the wheels start, turning, kind of aggressively. And we'll send you an example of a playbook. This is kind of the thing we create with our clients as well. Every client gets a full playbook, fully detailed, and the work and everything that they're executing, and performance business reviews. So to give you a sense, it's a very different experience than most people have when it comes to just a VA, but you're getting a whole support team and infrastructure. But it starts with that constraints exercise. So we'll be happy to send that your way. And so put tools at Outsource Access and put Jeff in the subject line. We'll know it came from this episode, and we'll dive in. So awesome, man. Well, thanks again for being the honor to support you. And we didn't get a chance to get into your nonprofit charitable work, which I know is a whole nother arm, which Marie, I know the intention was to kind of be able to help and support.
Yeah.
Punching content into, with children in hospitals around the country, getting fellow comedians and other entertainers to come and bring content to the hospital community. Just another big part of your world. We appreciate you doing.
Thanks, man. Next time, have me back. We'll chat about win-win.
There'll be a whole charitable side of VAs. And actually, I'm about to get on the board of one here that is committed to nothing but supporting nonprofit employees in Atlanta here. So I'll have to share a little journey on that. So,
yeah, awesome. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Jeff. Take care, everybody.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.